Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great, and also welcome to the channel. If you're new, and welcome to this, like I said, daily Bitcoin update. If you're new to the channel, I do these updates every morning, and I also do a brief update in the middle of the day in my market update. But we'll go over everything you need to know about Bitcoin. There's some news I wanted to talk about. Yesterday, of course, we had inflation rate data. That was good news. As we also spoke about in the stream. Now, as far as I know, the interest rate predictions have not changed, right? Because that is ultimately what we want to see, because we want to see rate cuts. And so far, that's not really the case. Hasn't changed, unfortunately, but maybe with Jerome Powell speaking tomorrow, that we'll get some sort of an update on that. Today, there's no relevant economic data. However, before we talk about Bitcoin, which yesterday I would say that yesterday in the middle of the market update, what we said, it was during this move down, if I remember correctly, and what Bitcoin very beautifully did is you can see we left an imbalance here. And what Bitcoin did, and we have the POC area right here, and Bitcoin just pulled back into that. And what I said is that, if we get a strong reaction here, it doesn't matter, because yesterday afternoon, like the bearish pressure was quite strong, right? I mean, this move down at some point of time looked quite ugly. But what I said is that as long as we get a strong reaction and we're able to get a reclaim at some point of time above 103.8, we're fine to still get into those highs. And you can see we reached the POC, that's yellow line again. And that has kept the upside, basically since Saturday, Sunday. So reached that resistance again, and since then we pulled back. And I have some opinions on the price action today, which most likely is going to boil down to stability. But there's some other interesting scenarios I think we need to talk about. But before we talk about those technicals, yesterday we got some news which I thought was quite interesting, and I think it's being overlooked a little bit. First of all, by the way, this morning the S&P 500 is still doing fine. It's still very strong, and it's trading at basically where it closed yesterday, a little bit higher. And the volatility index is also still decreasing and is bottoming out. So that's great to see in general for the fundamentals. But the news that I saw yesterday was this, and that is that the Tether-backed 21 Capital purchases $460 million worth of Bitcoin. All right, this is pretty major. All right, and it's not really being talked about right now. But they've bought $450 million. That's in no shape or form as much as MicroStrategy is doing right now. But it's still an incredible amount, right? And 21 Capital is backed by SoftBank, for example, right? So that is actually a pretty institutionalized fund. So at this point of time, look, this is already bullish, because this means that more capital intensive partners are buying up the Bitcoin supply. But this also means, I mean, if we have 1, 2, or 3 more entities of this, we're going to have a major supply shock. And there are entities with enough money to do that. All right, so be aware of that. I mean, if that actually does happen, I wouldn't, and normally, and most of you know this, I'm quite conservative about my targets, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin at 150,000. I mean, you're going to get a major supply shock then. All right, so just interesting data for now. When we're talking about Bitcoin so far this morning, I would say stability. All right, look, the fundamentals can be very exciting, but ultimately, stability is what the price tells us. All right, you can see that if you take a look at the opening today using the TPO, you can see that we opened within the balance of the last couple of days. We opened a little bit higher than the balance on Friday, but that's fine. We opened within that balance. The base is about as wide as yesterday. The base is a little bit narrow, so maybe that might create some volatility, but ultimately, I don't see any reason fundamentally nor any reason technically to expect a lot of volatility. Now, that does mean that if we get volatility and there's no news backing it up, I think that's opportunity. All right, so for me, the main 2 levels to look for opportunities to the upside would be right here at 106, 105,000. for a short, but that is, I think, risky. 106,000 is our main price target, but it's quite weak, all right? I mean, if we get there, we could easily spike up to 107 as well. So where are you going to place your stop loss? It's a very weak resistance level historically. And then for me, the most interesting price target down here is this imbalance we left below 101,000. On the higher time frames, I think 101,500 is the most important support level. My apologies. So if for some reason, right, I mean, days can be very volatile like that. If for some reason we drop down below that, and there's no news backing why we would have a bearish breakout, I would say buy there, right? And then especially that level at 100,500, where we have an imbalance and POC, which still needs to be hit. So yeah, those are my thoughts. But ultimately, I expect stability in this range right here between 105,000 and 102,000. If we get volatility, I think that's an opportunity. But for now, unfortunately, it looks pretty boring. But those are my thoughts. If you do have any questions, let me know down in the comments. But for now, thank you for watching. Take care and bye.